Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're talking about my Week 12 tight end starter sits for the 2019 fantasy football season. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about all things tight end, talking about the matchups for Week 12 at the position, and then talking about my top 12 tight end rankings on the week. Before we begin today's video, let me remind all of you, if you haven't yet already, click that subscribe button, click the like button if you like today's video. Perhaps you don't even watch the video, just click the like button anyway. I appreciate all of your guys' support. Also, don't forget to click the bell notification button to stay up to date on my latest content. All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Sunday morning. We're talking about football. And we'll talk about next week's schedule because I know Thanksgiving, blah, 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 and Thursday games. We'll talk about that on Sunday. So hopefully you're there. Check that out. Anyway, let's talk about the tight end position. And let's start off with the matchups at said position. All right, so the Arizona Cardinals, the easiest matchup in football at the tight end position, is on a bye week. No big deal. But look how many points per game they give up to opposing. Oh, this is a QB thing. Never mind. Okay, you know what? Andrew needs to change it. And I don't really want to. There it is. Here it is. The Arizona Cardinals. I was about to say, they give up 30 points to tight ends? No way. All right, there it is. I just recorded the quarterback video, so it just overlapped. Either way, the tight end position, Arizona Cardinals, there's no free matchup this week. Shame, but it's okay. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they are now the best matchup for the week. But unfortunately, there is no Austin Hooper. There is no Austin Hooper. There is no Travis Kelce. There is no Hunter Henry. Three of the best tight ends this season are all probably going to be out. And even Evan Ingram's probably going to miss this week. So there's a lot of injuries at the tight end position. There's a lot of bye weeks going on this week. So as of right now, that unfortunately won't be able to take advantage of. Moving on, the Oakland Raiders giving up a lot of points at tight end position. You know, Ryan Griffin's been looking good in the last couple of weeks. In the last 6 week block, has made some plays, has an upside, and could potentially put up a good amount of points this week. Then we have the Green Bay Packers playing against tight ends. Again, I saw George Kittle practice today. He looked good. Ankle, knee injury doesn't look to be apparent anymore. Doesn't look to be something that is ailing him. He was running routes. Should be good to play this week. Moving on, the Dallas Cowboys against the tight end position. Not really worried about that because really the Patriots, unless Gronk's coming back anytime soon, don't really have a tight end to throw the ball to. Then we get the Pittsburgh Steelers, Tyler Eifert on the other side of that. Seattle Seahawks playing against Ertz and Dallas Goedert. I'll talk about both of them today. And then we have the Kansas City Chiefs on a bye week. Evan Ingram would have been playing against the Chicago Bears. Unfortunately, might be able to miss this week because he did not practice once again. But if he practices in some capacity tomorrow, we'll talk about that on Sunday. And then the Detroit Lions, Sprinkle's not doing anything. And then we have some of the tougher matchups. But all in all, again, we're starting our studs either way. So let's talk about my top 12 rankings on the week. Again, a lot of the best tight ends in fantasy right now are not playing this week. Again, Travis Kelce, the number one. Austin Hooper, the number two. They're out. So who's my number one of the week? George Kittle, a guy that has been ailing some injuries in the last couple of weeks, but will be returning this week and will probably be, with all the injuries and all the commotion going on in San Francisco, will probably be the number one receiving target on the week for Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's going to really depend upon him this week in the matchup. I expect George Kittle to be a huge force in the passing game. I mean, look, George Kittle's already been really good this season. The guy, in terms of targets, is always getting 7 to 8 targets a game, and that's all he really needs. Sure, he's not having an incredible season like last year, but he's on pace to, obviously the injury, but on pace to at least close out the season strong. Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully that's what we're going to see. Hopefully he's healthy. And I think this week, if he's playing, which I'm expecting him to do, he's my number one tight end. Moving on, number 2, Mark Andrews, the number 3 tight end overall in half-point PPR fantasy right now. Mark Andrews has been incredible. He really is the number one receiving target for this offense. Even though he doesn't get an incredible amount of catches per game or targets, he's still very hyper efficient with the opportunity that he's given. Even last week, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 75 yards, and a touchdown against Houston's defense, where they absolutely dominated that game and really didn't even have to use him in the second half because of, they just ran the ball. Gus Edwards had over 100 yards rushing. They cleaned that team out. This week against the Rams, I expect Mark Andrews to be continuously used. And perhaps, this probably might not even be a competitive game, but Mark Andrews is going to continue to get the job done. Sure, he always has the potential of disappearing on a given week, but I think this is far too. I mean, the Rams, the linebackers, they really can't cover. So unless you're putting a safety on a guy like Mark Andrews, and even then, big-bodied, can make plays, looks like a basketball player out there making plays, I expect him to be another good tight end. He's my number 2 on the week. Moving on to number 3, Zach Ertz, a guy that as of late is, he's getting there. 20 points, 14 points. Plays against the Seattle Seahawks this week. Really good matchup. Each of the last 2 weeks, 11 targets, 9 receptions. Almost surpassed 100 yards this past week against the New England defense that is pretty good against tight ends. I'm looking at Zach Ertz' rest of season schedule. If you're a Zach Ertz owner and you've survived thus far and you're going to go into the fantasy playoffs with him at your tight end, rejoice, because this schedule is insane going forward. Seattle, Miami, the Giants, Washington, Dallas, and then obviously week 17 the Giants, but nobody plays there. If you play week 17, I'm sorry. That sucks. But again, Zach Ertz looks like he's going to have a really good second half of the season. And as of right now, this week, I think the Seattle Seahawks give up the 7th most points to opposing tight ends. Should be a great play. He's my number 3 on the week. Moving on to number 4, Jacob Hollister. Guys, I talked about Jacob Hollister in that Hidden Gems video. I'm going to continue to talk about him because I'm very much so intrigued on his value. And I think going forward, any number 1 tight end for the Seattle Seahawks is going to be valuable. Sure, maybe not Luke Wilson, but because of how much we've seen Jacob Hollister be used in the passing game, I have the utmost confidence in his production and his capabilities this week in the matchup against the Eagles. No matter who they play, Russell Wilson's going to feed you the ball. If they get down to the red zone, it almost always will lead to a passing touchdown. They very seldom run the ball down in the red zone, so as of right now, Jacob Hollister, he's my number 4 on the week. Moving on to number 5, Darren Waller. Darren Waller's got himself a good matchup playing against the New York Jets. Darren Waller hasn't been incredible as of late. Sure, that's something that we're going to have to deal with. But at least he's seeing some sort of target count. In the last couple of weeks, we hadn't seen him do much. Just past week, 7 targets, 5 receptions for 78 yards. That's a 10-point tight end. That's all I really ask for a guy like this. And hopefully, because of how good the matchup is, Derek Carr can find him in the end zone and perhaps give him that elevated upside boost. Maybe get a 15-point tight end play, which would be incredible. He's my number 5 on the week. Moving on to number 6. Speaking of 10-point tight end plays, the thumbnail himself, Jared Cook. Here's the thing about Jared Cook as of late. Sure, he started off the season pretty slow, and that happens when your quarterback, who loves to throw the ball to the tight end position, kind of disappears. But then we saw him start getting more implemented in the offense. And we even saw him with Teddy Bridgewater put up some 10-point performances. Week 5, 12. Week 6, 11. Then he got hurt for a couple weeks, went on a bye week. And in the past 2 weeks, has been a 10-point tight end. Sure, this last week wasn't as incredible as the week before. He went from 10 targets to 2 targets, but still scored the exact same amount of fantasy points because of that touchdown upside, because he is a bigger target, 6'7" in the red zone. Of course, Drew Brees is going to throw you the ball. That's incredible. And I think going forward, he's going to continue to be a big contributor on this offense. Moving on, let's talk about Ryan Griffen, my number 7 tight end on the week. All right, so here's the thing about Ryan Griffen. Like I was mentioning, easy matchup in the last couple weeks. He's kind of an off and on kind of player. There will be games where he has pretty good performances. 3 targets, 28 yards, and a touchdown. 4 targets, 4 receptions, 66 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 5 targets, 5 receptions, 109 yards, and a touchdown. 8 targets, 6 receptions, 50 yards. I'm reading his entire catalog. But then there are some games where he'll just disappear. New England, one of them. The Philadelphia Eagles, one of them. And then this, in Week 10 against the New York Giants, really disappeared. But I'm hoping because of how good this matchup is, they're going to continue to use him. There is no more other tight ends on this team with Herndon gone. I expect Ryan Griffen to potentially have a pretty big upside play here this week. So he's my number 7. Moving on to Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett was a little banged up. He was visibly hurt last week, running around. And really he didn't even play the first quarter. They had to use their third string tight end for a lot of the blocking plays. So it kind of, held this offense in check for a little bit because they couldn't stretch the field with the tight end because, you're not really sending Higbee out for, routes. So as of right now, hopefully Gerald, Everett, which looks to be healthy right now, is going to play and he's going to step up. As of right now, what it looks like, probably Robert Woods coming back, probably Brandon Cooks coming back. That's only going to probably open up opportunity for Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett to make some plays underneath with Cooper Kupp, probably. That's going to be the case. So I expect Gerald Everett to be decent. Moving on, number 9, Eric Ebron tonight. I think Eric Ebron, regardless of whether or not T.Y. Hilton plays, is still a good play, but will obviously be a better play if T.Y. Hilton's out. He will be relied upon more, and he should probably have more fantasy points, at least towards your team, helping you out if, in fact, there is no T.Y. Hilton in the last couple weeks. Hasn't been incredible. We haven't seen the Ebron of last year, but hopefully they're going to force feed this guy. Hopefully that's the case this week. But as of right now, between him and Jack Bill, it could be a Slash Doyle thing because one of them is going to make a play. Who? That's up to the fantasy gods at that point. Moving on, number 10, Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert, just off of what he's done in the last couple of weeks, the matchup, it's just too juicy. The guy has scored 3 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks, and it's a shame that I didn't mention him in the waiver wire segment of this past week. I named a guy like Tyler Eifert instead. That's probably not going to go anywhere. But as of right now, I think Dallas Goedert, top 10 tight end play on the week, certainly. He just gets too many targets in the offense and too much red zone work. Moving on, Greg Olsen is my number 11. Even though I don't like the matchup very much, I still think Greg Olsen is a pretty big part of that offense, and he's going to get work. And obviously, it hopefully will go in the right direction. But as of right now, I'm not really, loving Greg Olsen as a play. He's more of a, hey, you know what? There really isn't anybody else. There is no Kyle Rudolph. There is no Travis Kelce. There is no Austin Hooper. There is no Hunter Henry. We are missing a lot of guys, and a guy like this is potentially a decent play. Maybe you could play Noah Fant if you're ready to risk it for the biscuit because the Buffalo Bills are really tough against tight ends. But again, Greg Olsen, he's a part of that offense, and they pass the ball a lot, so hopefully he can find himself some value, maybe even a touchdown. Moving on to the last tight end of the week. With Juju Smith probably being out, Deontay Johnson probably being out, and James Conner probably being out, we have Jalen Samuels, James Washington, and Vance McDonald. Those are the 3 main targets, and potentially Vance McDonald has an opportunity here to step up and be the tight end we expected him to be this season, and at least have one decent game. He hasn't had a decent game since week 9 and week 2. Come on, Vance McDonald. It's Cincinnati. Please get it done. We're hoping you get it done. And as of right now, I expect him to at least have, hopefully, some good game. He's probably available on waivers. So if you're willing to risk it and you're struggling at the tight end position, I don't think he's a terrible play. All right, that's basically it. Those are my top 12 tight ends in the week. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Again, majority of you only have one of these tight ends, and you'll play them immediately. If you have 2 of the top, I think 4, I might consider playing Jacob Hollister in my flex. But 2 in the top 3, you probably play 1 as your tight end 1 and then the other one in the flex because of how good they've been. So, thank you, everybody, for watching. Until next time, I will see you guys. Have a good one. Hopefully this Thursday Night Football game is good. I will be watching it. Should be fun. And until then, I'll see you guys. Peace.